The market traded in a very tight range today with the S&P closing down 0.07% at 6225.52. We saw a range between the 6220 area and the 6240 area. So a very tight range after the big run up that we've seen culminating on the July 3rd shortened trading session. We saw the gap down and trend lower yesterday and basically just consolidated today with no real decision being made to the upside or the downside. Switching next to our daily candlestick chart, we see the gamma exposure concentration skewed to the upside. We've been discussing this skew over the last several weeks. It's preceded the big breakout that we had at the 6150 level. So over the last week to week and a half, we've seen a big momentum to the upside towards all of this positive gamma exposure. Of course, the market never goes straight up, and we are expecting some sort of pullback in the 3 to 5% range. We did see a pullback basically the last couple of trading sessions, although it's a very, very small start. Still a lot of buyers out there who have been late to the game. And so even though supply is starting to hit the market, buyers are stepping in and picking up that supply. So a big part of the reason why we saw this inside day trading range today.
Anthony, let's take a look at QQQ. You can see we actually saw GEX increase today from yesterday's sharp decrease. We didn't fully make up the drop in positive GEX from Friday, but about halfway back on that. We're still in neutral territory. It's not necessarily bearish or overtly bullish, but of course, as you were mentioning, the chart still looks constructive. What I am watching as we look at the chart is that the whole has crossed over the price. And you can see when that happened over the weekend, Monday and then today have both been red candles for QQQ, but with the whole still rising, and it is at this upper Keltner channel, with these lines showing confluence, these become important resistance points. So we'll be watching any subsequent rebound and how it behaves around this 550, 583 area. And as we saw that big GEX cluster at 560 on our GEX levels chart, we also see 560 expressed on the 3D map. With specific focus on July 11. So this to me means that not only is there a lot of positive GEX at 560, but there's also a chance that 560 is reached by Friday.
Thanks, Sean. Next, let's take a look at USO, the oil ETF, up 0.64% today, closing at 76.96. USO has had a pretty decent run up over the last several trading sessions. Coming off the lows here, just above the 50-day EMA around the $72, $73 range, trading up through the $77 strike. That has actually been our target for the last week, and we hit that today. And we actually traded this move on oil in both of our portfolios. In our larger portfolio, we locked in $6,500 profit on oil futures, and this was actually a very short-term trade. We entered back on July 1st. We also traded USO directly in our smaller portfolio, locking in $333 profit today on this position. This is a direct play where we were long the August 1st 75.80 call debit spreads. You can see USO trading at 77.31 as we closed out the position, coming right into that big 77 gamma exposure that we highlighted back on July 1st. Coming back to our current chart, although we exited USO and oil futures contracts, we are looking for another re-entry. Volatility has exploded over the last couple of weeks, and we think there's going to be more opportunity to trade oil successfully, especially from the long side. And so we're looking for a re-entry point, potentially on a pullback to the 50-day EMA, which is going to be anywhere below the $75 strike. But we think in the intermediate term, a move back up through 80 on USO directly, or potentially the 70 to 75 level on oil futures contracts directly, we think does look likely.
Let's take a quick look at the VIX, also known as the fear index. And we often combine VIX analysis with what we're seeing in the indices to help us form a better picture of what we expect to happen. Ever since we saw the VIX cross over the hole, we've been seeing pressure higher in volatility. And we did note that being this far above the hole may mean that we see the VIX come back in, and it looks like that's happened today already with the gap down in volatility. But with the hole starting to turn up, we need to see if this continues between the hole and GEX that we've been seeing at 16. I wouldn't be surprised if we saw some choppiness staying above 16 for now. And of course, if we get the deeper pullback, we could see the VIX spike up closer to 20 or even 25 volume at both of those areas today. So watching the VIX for potential advanced clues at times regarding where the indices may be headed.
Thanks, Sean. Next, let's take a look at Meta. Meta trading up 0.32% today, closing at 720.67. We actually discussed Meta on our live stream the other day, highlighting this pullback from the 750, almost like a double top happening here. However, I think that would be a false assumption at this point. Zooming in, we see a little bit of consolidation after a couple of days of pullback off of that 750 level, but we see game exposure is still strong from 720 and above. And actually, if we zoom out on our chart, we can see that game exposure actually continues increasing all the way up to the 800 strike. This is something we've been pointing out as a potential target, especially if market momentum continues in the coming weeks. 800 is a likely target for Meta, as it's been one of the leaders off of those April 7th lows. Just looking at the volume in the options market, most of the volume, of course, was at 720 today. However, if we look at the skew in options volume, it is to the upside. We're not seeing much activity down here below 720 or 700 for that matter, but we are seeing a lot of contracts trading all the way up to that 800 strike. So that's just another factor going in Meta's favor, that this dip may likely be temporary. We're still above the 50-day EMA, which is rising pretty quickly. And we think in the next couple of weeks, there could be another attempt coming back to this 750 level and potentially breaking out above that. So this is going to be one of those names we've got on our watch list. We are looking for a near-term breakout here in the next couple of days. And by the way, you can follow along with all the trades we're making in real time by becoming a member at geeksoffinance.com. I'll put a link in the description below for you guys to check out.
I wanted to take a look at Berkshire Hathway before we wrap up today. BRKB in this case. Berkshire has two share classes, of course, and we just added this to our dashboard. The chart has a very interesting setup in my view. Before we get into the GEX picture, you can see we're right at this important point that matches up with prior highs. So back in August, also in November of 2024, we tagged the lower dealer cluster zone today, and we're currently sitting just above that lower dealer cluster zone, essentially in this zone that marks prior resistance turn support. And the candle is a indecision candle, but oftentimes these are associated with reversals. And getting to the GEX picture now, I like that we have positive GEX, and we also have GEX clusters from 465 up to 480. I also like the fact that if Berkshire does get moving to the upside, and we did see daily volume today, mostly at higher strikes, there's not a lot of GEX between 480 and 500. And that means that this move has potential to happen fairly quickly, because there wouldn't be a lot of stopping points along the way to get to that 500 mark. So definitely watching Berkshire, and I'll be eyeing it in the morning to see where it is for potential entry.
And for a limited time, we are running a special promotion, $300 off our yearly portfolio manager tier subscription. Use code SUMMER2025 at checkout. We've got a few spots remaining, but this promotion ends soon, so take advantage of it while you can. Members get full access to our gamma exposure dashboard, our option flow analytics, as well as our algorithmic trading strategies. And you'll also get access to the premium channels in our community Discord. There's a ton of great traders in there sharing trade setups and ideas every single day, and you can also track our trades in real time as well. I'll put links in the description below for you guys to check all of that out. Thanks so much, everybody, for watching. We'll see you in the next video.